Hey guys, my name's Tan and welcome to Slovenly Gaming Garage. Today I'd like to review Borderlands the pre-sequel. I'm a big Borderlands fan. I don't know if you guys are, but I was actually really excited when I heard that this game is coming out. I just got a little bit nervous though because then I realized that it's not for the PS4 or the next generation system. It's for last gen, so that was a bit worrisome a little bit. But after you get into the game, it's actually really well done, and I kind of understand why they probably wanted to keep this for the last gen. The game, first, let me start off by talking about the environment. The game is absolutely beautiful. The moon, the entire like the cities. It's actually kind of reminiscent of Total Recall a little bit in an odd way. Like it's kind of like there's even like subtle remarks about it in the game. I'll try not to spoil anything so you guys can actually play and enjoy it and see it for yourself. But the atmosphere is actually really beautiful. When you're running around in the game, there's this really cool thing that you realize that you're a little bit laggy in the way that you run, so you can kind of feel like the weightlessness or the emptiness of the atmosphere up there, which is actually really cool. There's a really cool mechanic that when you shoot or if you're Athena, for example, which is my character right now, when you throw your Aspis or like you hit them with a really hard hit, they actually fly off into space, and like all the loot that they drop actually just goes everywhere, which is kind of annoying a little bit because sometimes you want to get things and it flies off a cliff, but whatever. So the game is absolutely awesome. Let's talk about now. We're going to talk about the fighting style. The fighting style of the game is actually the same exact thing like Borderlands 1 and 2. The only thing that's different this time around is the fact that you can do a butt slam, which is frigging awesome. Just a lot of times, it usually comes in handy when you're surrounded by a lot of enemies, and you can kind of like bring them in close, and then you can just jump and just come down hard. And what that does is that it'll kill the weaker ones, but what it'll do for the stronger ones is kind of like knock them off tilt, so you can kind of get a grasp of yourself again and kind of be able to battle them off easier, which is actually really cool. This time around, there's also lasers in the game, which is it's all right, but technically, if you look at Borderlands 2 with the doctor, I can't really remember the mission. You had a laser in there too, and it's kind of like that. Like there's like laser cells, and they burn out really quickly and things like that. But they're just another addition to the game that's actually really fun in terms of weaponry. Um, Characters actually, that's the thing that was most interesting about this game, because I thought going in, because there's all these new characters except Claptrap, of course, it's going to be played a bit differently, but it's essentially the same thing, I think, except for Athena in terms of her aspis. And what I mean by that is that unlike Wilhelm, who has the two robots, and it's basically like Roland or Axel, I think his name was. I'm sorry if I messed that up, but you kind of throw out your drone. It's kind of like your droid, and it helps clear the enemies off the field. She has an Aspis that basically takes all the damage that it can take, and by the time the bar goes out, you throw it. Now, if you buff it, there's actually a really awesome buffer that allows you to. It basically becomes like a massive pinball. You can do like elemental damage on it. That's really cool. But otherwise than that, like the Aspis, there's really not much going on with her. Nisha plays much of this same like any other Borderlands character, except that she has like a more Western style to her, and her power move is basically kind of like a showdown kind of thing where she just gets like super powerful, and she's kind of like Billy the Kid or something like that, which is kind of awesome. Wilhelm is basically the Gunzerker on a rebuilt Gunzerker. That's all he really is. Like, there's nothing much to explain there in terms of him. Again, the buffing things are what really makes the characters in the game interesting, because they all have like slightly different buffers in terms of from one character to the next, especially dealing from like Borderlands 1 or 2, all the buffers a bit different. And sorry, but let me go back. For example, Nisha's buff, her melee move is a whip. If that whip isn't buffed, it's absolute garbage. But once you buff it, it gets really cool. You can actually buff it and put lightning strike on it. When you put that lightning strike, what happens is when you crack the whip, it actually bounces off all the enemies around you and enables you to take out a multitude of enemies all at once, which is actually really cool. But without that buff, she's just cracking a whip, and that's kind of like whatever, like you're cracking a whip. But anyway, again, Wilhelm's I think is actually really really cool. But the reason why I didn't go with Wilhelm is because in the last two games I played with the soldiers, and Wilhelm is nothing but a soldier really, and it was more of the same, and I didn't want to do that. I want to do something a little bit different, and it does feel different, but it just feels the same. And what makes it feel the same isn't necessarily the character or the play style, but it's the missions and the overall game you're doing. It's a cart and carry mission. Everything is like, oh, go here and get this for me, go here and get that for me, which gets actually a little bit tedious after a while. You're kind of like, okay, I've played this already. But the thing that makes it most energetic and gets you excited is the actual environment and being in the moon and just like looking around at your environment, and then all the little, I think like the lunatics look a little bit like aliens and the kind of weapons they use. However, you can't really get their weapons. That looks kind of like laser beams, but that's another thing. The game is actually really really fun overall. You would, if you're an old Borderlands fan, I would say that you would want to get this, because what it does is actually builds the story up from Borderlands 1 and Borderlands 2, hence the pre-sequel title, duh. But it tells you that entire gap of story that's missing, so you kind of get to see the relationship develop between Lilith and Roland a little bit, and then you get to see the relationship develop between all the guys, and you kind of see, in a weird way, you kind of like Jack, which is very interesting because he killed Roland, and I fucking hated that guy for that, and like he was such a jackass in Borderlands 2. But in this game, for like the first, couple minutes, you're actually working really really closely with him, and it's very interesting to like get that personal take on Jack, which is actually interesting, which is like a kind of like a really cool subterfuge that they did in the game, because now if you go back and you're playing Borderlands 2 after you've played the pre-sequel, you kind of feel weird because you kind of get an understanding of why he became this way and why he's doing all the things that he's doing. So it's very interesting. It basically pulls you, which is actually really good overall in any storyline for anything, whether it be game or movie, but particularly in a game when they can build you this character and you hate the character, and then they do another storyline with that very same character, and then you become sort of sympathetic to that character, and you're thinking to yourself, you know what, I would have done this, I would have made those same decisions, or what have you. But yeah, overall the game is actually really really awesome. The only thing as well, the price tag. I have an issue with the price tag. I don't think this should have been a $60 game. Honestly, it's more like a $40 game, really, like if you're really thinking about it, because the only thing that they really changed necessarily is the environment, and you can do butt slams now. Even the Kragans, like the monsters, are basically recycled. When you're looking at them, they're nothing but skags with tails. Even their fighting moves, for example, and anybody who's played the game would know this, the larger ones, especially when you kill them, they break up into like between 2 and 4 other smaller Kragans, and they all have this rolled attack. Spiders from Borderlands 2, anyone? So it's basically, again, there's a little bit of the same, which is kind of fun being a Borderlands lover, but it can also make the game really tedious because you feel like you're playing Borderlands 1 and 2 again, and that gets kind of annoying, So it's weird. I'm kind of torn on this game, but I did purchase it, and as of right now, I am enjoying it. I've got a couple hours in. I'm up to about level 8, I believe, with Athena, so I'm working on some things. So depending on how you guys like this video, I'll do a part 2 and let you know what's been going on with the game. But as of right now, if you want to purchase Borderlands and you are a Borderlands fan, I would say you should definitely get this game. If you're not really much of a Borderlands fan and this might be your first step into the Borderlands world, I would say just get Borderlands 1 and wait until this game drops in price, and then it'll probably be worth it. Alright, Slovenly, thanks for visiting me at Slovenly Gamer Garage, guys, and this is 10. I'm out. Thank you.